Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm Gary Martin and today joined at Huddersfield Golf Club where it's a little bit wet outside and we're going to be experimenting with some clubs at the top end of the bag. Now, if you watch my channel, you'll know I've been struggling off the tee, especially under pressure. I'm shying away from hitting a driver. I'm even shying away from hitting a fairway wood, and quite often it's resulting in me hitting a free iron off the tee, and it's making, matches that I'm playing against James and subscribers quite difficult, because I'm giving them quite a big advantage. So if you feel like that, if you feel like you're shying away from your driver and shying away from fairways off the tee, and you need something to get you in play, this video is for you. So this is where the fun starts for you guys that aren't confident with driver and fairway wood. We're going to crank a 17-degree hybrid to 15.5 degrees, and we've put a low spin shaft in here. So this is not going to be a versatile club. This is not going to be what a hybrid is designed for. This is going to be an absolute rocket launcher fly with no spin. So probably just a club that we can only use off the tee. But you might agree with me, guys, if you don't like it in a driver and a fairway under pressure, for some reason, a hybrid with a little bit shorter shaft, and a little bit smaller profile just seems more appealing to it under pressure. Certainly does for me, but we're going to get on the launch pads. We're going to set a little bit of a distance test up on the foresight, which is dead easy to do if you've got one of these facilities nearby, to see if we're going to sacrifice any distance, between the driver and a really strong hybrid. I don't think there'll be a great deal in it, but I'm also wanting to see how much distance I can gain from my free iron and whether it's actually worth it. Because obviously the danger of something so low in loft and with a low spin shaft is it might not fly enough to actually get more distance. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to experiment before we take it out on the course. So we've set up a know your numbers test on the GC quad, which is dead easy to do, as you can see, and we just need to hit 3 balls with each club. You can hit more than that if you're an inconsistent golfer, and it'll start to give you some distance gapping between clubs, which is great little exercise to do in the winter if you've got one of these launch monitors nearby. We're going to see how far my trusty free iron goes. So that one didn't feel the best strike, in all fairness. Went sort of 219 yards. I think when I sort of hit this well, it can go sort of 230, 240, but even that miss hit there, it's something that puts me out there, gives me a second shot and keeps me in challenges, I hate, being out of play off the tee. But I want something to go further. I can't afford to sacrifice sort of 60 to 80 yards off the tee when I'm playing these matches. And that's why we're here today. That felt better. That's probably going to be a little bit more true in terms of distance. So yeah, pretty much what I was saying, about 235. That were a good strike. So the difference between a good strike and a bad strike, around about 15 yards. But both pretty straight in play. Semi-natural shape. This is a little bit of a draw, which you'll have seen if you watch the videos. But I need to close that gap. I reckon, kind of golfers I'm playing, we're hitting it sort of 250 to 270. Let's have one more. Oh, that was lovely. It's drawn a little bit. So 235, pretty much in round numbers. So let's see what this hybrid can do then. Like I said, it's not going to be a versatile club. I don't think it's going to be a club I can use off the fairway, but it might be a club that can replace my free wood. I mean, it's actually stronger loft than my free wood, 16.5. This is 15.5 degree with a low spin shaft. And obviously, it's going to be a lot more powerful than an iron head. So let's see what sort of distance we can get with this little rocket. And in my hands, I've got to say, it feels much more like an iron. It feels like I'm just going to put the same swing as what I would do if I got a free iron in my hands. And that's why, it just gives me that little bit more confidence. Oh, that felt hot. That felt really hot. That's flown. Wow. 275 yards. Now, I wouldn't be sacrificing much distance at all with that. I mean, wow, if I can hit a hybrid club that far, I wonder how much I'm going to be sacrificing on the driver. I don't think I'm going to be sacrificing a great deal, you know. That PXG driver that's given me a little bit more confidence off the tee. It's not optimised for distance. It's actually, you know, quite a high spin driver. And I don't think it's actually going, maybe not even going any further than that. We'll see. Could be a little bit of a switch round in the top end of the bag, I think. That felt so nice. That's better. I think that's gone a million miles. But even, you know, even though it didn't feel as good, at 255, it's still 20 yards further than my free iron. So it's certainly worth putting this in the bag. That's better. Just feels exactly like my free iron swing. That's the beauty of it. So yeah, again, 270. You know, the worst sort of decent swing 255 and best 275. Wow. So now this is going to answer a lot of questions, isn't it? You know, how far is the driver going and is it worth pulling out? I mean, if that club's going to go 275, this needs to be going sort of 300 yards to make it worth even hitting. And I don't think I'm capable of hitting this that far because it's not optimised for distance. Let's find out. I mean, it felt a good strike. I'd be happy with that strike. 287. I mean, it's certainly a little bit longer than the hybrid, but I know it's different circumstances in here as well. You know, I've swung that with freedom. I've swung that, you know, not really sort of with hazards on the left. I mean, it'd be, you know yourselves, guys, you know, you've got like the 18th when we did the vlog the other day, and there's trouble at 270 yards down the left. I've hit the iron knowing that if I pull it, I'm not going to reach it. And they're the negative thoughts that you get when there's hazards and trouble in the fairway. So although this is a great test for numbers, it's not as real as if we were going to be doing this outside. And that's why it even, you know, cements more in my mind that the hybrid is going to give me more confidence. Because if that's only going to get me 10 yards more with confidence, it's just not worth it. That come off, that's as hot as it can come off this driver. That were right out of the screws. 291. I'm going to finish off by hitting one more just for the test. I'm going to have a look at these numbers and I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking. So that's 3 pretty good drives. I've got to say as well, guys, on this channel, we'll never try and, you know, jig the numbers by putting altitudes low and distances downwind. The numbers are as real as it's going to get. So if we start by having a look at these numbers and talking in round numbers as well, you start by seeing the free irons going round about 210 yards on average. I did think it went further than that, but that's what the launch monitor is telling us. Went about 210 yards, but a club, as you know, I'm confident hitting the fairway with. The hybrid, you know, if we look at the hybrid, it's really closed the gap on the driver by more than half, you know, around about 240 yards, and the cluster is just as tight. Now, the driver, I think the launch monitor, I think the results we've got today flatter the driver because, you know, although it's advanced on the hybrid by about another 30 yards and the cluster's quite tight, like I said, that's in conditions with no pressure. I reckon under pressure, I wouldn't have swung that driver with so much ease, you know. And we're going to, obviously, you know, we're going to take that hybrid out onto the course and see how it performs. But I can certainly tell you with how I feel over the ball and that I feel like I can swing it more like an iron, that I think that's going to be a club that's really going to help me off the tee under pressure. And I think the way I'm going to go with it now is I'm going to find an optimised driver. You know, with the success that I had with the TSI 3 last year, when I did hit that really well, I was getting distance up to 330 yards. So I know that I can hit a driver, you know, a lot further than the results we've had today. And, you know, by having that hybrid club in the bag that I can rely on off the tee to hit 240, it now means that I can really go for it with driver. I can try and optimise my numbers and maybe have a driver in the bag, but I don't use all the time, but I pick on par 5s, and, you know, if I'm playing team matches that I can, you know, hit and feel like that I'm not making any sacrifices because, you know, I've not got it optimised and I'm looking for more forgiveness, you know, and room for error. So I'm going to use the Rocket hybrid off the tee a lot more. And I'm also going to be testing now a TSR 3 to see how much more distance I can get with that driver compared to the PXG. And, you know, I think that maybe the PXG is going to end up for sale, you know, I really do. Guys, I hope you've learned something from that video. If you're struggling with your driver and your 3-wood, and, you know, don't sacrifice so much distance in a 4-iron. Maybe look at making a Rocket hybrid like I've done today. You know, like I said, it's not something I've suggested on this channel before, but there is a purpose for it if you really struggle with driver and fairwood, and you're just going to use this club for the tee and not get greedy trying to pick it up off a fairway, because I think at 15.5 degree with a low spin shaft, it'll be very difficult, but I will test it out on the course. So I hope you've enjoyed that video, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye.